So before we get started reviewing the Q393, I wanted to let everybody know that my buddy B from Droner News is going to be in Austin in 2 weeks on April 22nd, 2017. He and I are going to do some videos together, including a live video on the 22nd at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 5 p.m. Central. You can figure out the rest if you're somewhere else besides US Central and Eastern. But 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to do a live broadcast with the two of us. Now, I've never done this before. He's never done it before. We're going to practice a little bit ahead of time, but we're going to do a live Q&A, and we're also going to do a couple of giveaways and just get on the air and have some fun and see what happens. So if you want to tune in, that would be great, and we probably will be giving this drone away. So if you like it, then you'll definitely want to tune in that day because we're going to give it away live on the air. Now, fortunately, because I'm not a believer in super long unboxings, I've already opened it. It's sitting right here, and it's already assembled. So it came with 8 props that had to be, 4 of them had to be put on. These little caps just come off, and it's nice because these props actually have a little indicator that tell you which way each prop should spin. So you should be able to get them on right the first time. It came with the remote control, and it came with, unfortunately, a non-US plug. So came with this plug, which was useless to me, but I happen to have a US version of this same cord laying around, so I was able to actually make it work. But be careful when you order it to make sure you get the plug that you need for your country. So this thing is an FPV quad with a camera, and it does have, it does broadcast over 5.8, which means that you can use FPV goggles, and I'm going to try that out. But this is the camera right here. The camera actually had to be put on. It's got, very easy though, just one plug, and then it slips on. It does have a little bit of a shock mount, this shock mount, which I think helps to avoid jello on the camera. It has a proprietary battery, which is always a bummer because I just wish you could get a standard battery to use with these things, because otherwise nothing else is going to fit in it. So this is the proprietary battery. The battery is a, what is it? It's a 2S 7.4 volt 2600 milliamp hour 20C LiPo battery, which is a decent sized battery for a quad this size. You know, a quad this size could take a 3S, but it's a 2S battery. If you remember the Bugs 3, that one had a 2S battery as well, and it did really well with it. So in addition to the proprietary battery, there's a proprietary charger that has a special connector, and what you have to do is just kind of slide it in there, and it kind of pops in place, and then you charge it. And again, I happen to have this US plug that worked, but this is the one that came with it for me. So I also have some adapters that work on these, so just be aware when you buy it and purchase it to get the right plug. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this, put this into the quad for the moment, and not start it up or anything yet, but just, oh, and look at that, it started up, or at least the lights came on when I put it in. I wonder if there is actually a startup button or if it just starts when you put it in. I'm not seeing any on-off switches, so I'm thinking it just starts when you put the battery in. So I'm going to go ahead and take the battery out. The battery, by the way, when it came in the box, was not in the quad, so that might explain why. So you have to push this little button down and pull on the battery. It's a little bit tight, so just be aware of that when you pull it out. So I'm going to set that like that for a moment. The remote control, it takes 4 batteries. It's interesting, there's 2 on each side. You have to open up 2 doors, and these have little screws, which I'm never a big fan of screws on the back of these. I don't know why they can't just make them pop in, but whatever. So this is the remote, and then this is the little screen that it comes with. It's a 4.3 inch diagonal screen for FPV, and obviously picks up 5.8 gigahertz FPV signal. This must go on this part here. Yes, okay. So this actually goes on this little handle here. So there's this handle here. This goes on like this, and then there's 2 thumb screws that screw in, and that's how that's going to stay on. So I got my 2 thumb screws in. I've got that on. Had this charging. Going to go ahead and plug in the antenna. Goes right up here on top. You can see there's a little screen here that's blinking. I assume the blinking means that the quad is not paired yet. So I'm going to go ahead and push the battery in. And it looks like we're paired. Okay, so I've got everything all set up. It is bound. The FPV is working. I've kind of figured out what the buttons do. So next step is we'll take it outside and fly it. So let's check that out. Okay, so I'm out in the field now. I've got the quad here with me. I'm gonna first take it up and try flying it with just the remote and the monitor on the remote, and then I'm actually going to try using the Fat Shark goggles and see if I can see the 5.8 gigahertz signal and fly it FPV, like actual FPV. So let's see how that goes. Got the monitor on and I am seeing an FPV signal. You can see it's the field here. I'm going to go ahead and fire up the motors. Alright, there it is hovering. I want to see a flip. There's the flip. The camera is dangling from it. We'll bring it over here and land it. Reattach the camera. Okay, I finally figured out how to start the video camera. You do that by holding down the bottom right button here for a couple seconds. I think one push actually takes a picture, and then holding it down starts a little counter so you know that it's rolling. So let's see what the video looks like. So as I said before, you can tilt the camera up and down with the two buttons here. So I'm going to tilt the camera down. Now I'm going to tilt the camera up. And I believe it's supposed to be stabilized. I was not able to see the picture in my Fat Sharks yet. Trying to do a little bit of selfie footage with it. Okay, I just stopped the recording. Okay, so I finally got the Fat Sharks dialed in. Just had to flip around to enough channels to find it. So I've got it in the Fat Sharks, and I'm going to go ahead and record with the Fat Sharks. Alright, Fat Sharks are recording. This camera's recording. And I'll record on the drone camera too. Hold down the right button, bottom right button for a couple of seconds and it starts recording. And I'm going to try flying it with the Fat Sharks. See how this goes. And I'm flying it with the Fat Sharks slowly. There's some kids playing soccer who weren't here earlier, so I'm just trying to avoid them. And I can say that the range on this thing is not that great. It started getting fuzzy about 75 feet away. But it is pretty zippy. And the altitude hold works pretty well. Currently I'm not pushing the throttle stick at all, and it's holding the same altitude pretty well. So overall, it's got its faults. It's definitely not perfect, but it's not a bad little camera drone. Definitely worth checking out if you want something that is a good learner, something you can learn on that's relatively inexpensive, takes decent quality but not great quality video, and gives you the flexibility of being able to tilt the camera up and down with the remote control. And also it's a great little FPV practice quad because you can actually see FPV. The only caveat to that is I don't think the transmitter is very strong, so if you're going to fly FPV with it, you're going to need to keep it fairly close in, otherwise you start to lose signal when it gets a little bit away from you. Hope that was useful when you're checking this quad out. It is definitely cool looking as well. I'm going to leave a link to GearBest where you can get the specs and the pricing. And if you're interested in learning more about quads and drones and UAVs and all that good stuff, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Ready Set Drone. Thanks for watching.